All right, everybody. Good morning. We are here. It is game day. We're about 4 hours away from kickoff and got a little bit of news to go over before we get to the game. A lot of this stuff came out yesterday afternoon, but I figured I'd go ahead and save it for this morning since I didn't really have anything else to post this morning. And I generally like to try to have the pregame video sit up on its own for as long as possible. So let's talk about a few things. We'll start with the Seahawks side of things because that's where most of the intrigue seems to be with regards to some of the shuffling they're doing because of injuries. And a few things happened yesterday. The big one being Jalen Sundell being placed on injured reserve, which means he will miss a minimum of 4 games, including today's game. So we got it done before today, which is good. But yeah, he's going to miss at least 4 games. Before we go any further, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper, as well as get some picks in. Are you using the Sleeper app this year for daily fantasy football? If not, you are missing out. Let's just take a look over on the left side of the screen now. Look at all the fun stuff you can get up to over there. Look at all the great stuff you can pick on. Let's get some picks in for this week. I've got Chan with an anytime touchdown against Washington. I've got Josh Allen with 2 or more passing touchdowns against Tampa Bay. Cooper Kupp revenge game against the Rams over 29.5 receiving yards. And Ashton Jeanty with over 58.5 rushing yards against Dallas. So get on over to Sleeper, use promo code SBN, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Get your picks in and test your football knowledge. All right, so yeah, I will say again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There are some things that Oluwatimi can do better than Sundell, in some cases a lot better. So this is an opportunity for him. If he plays well over the next month, it's possible that Sundell doesn't get his job back this year. Sundell's strength is his athleticism and mobility. He's a better scheme fit. That doesn't mean he's actually the better player. And even going back to before the year started, even when Sundell was awarded the starting job at center, I felt like it was pretty clear that it was a potential move and that it was understood that Oluwatimi was the superior player and they were just hoping that the scheme fit plus the potential growth that Sundell could have would take him eventually above where Oluwatimi was, who has something of a low ceiling. And I do still think that Oluwatimi has something of a low ceiling, but I also think he's got a decent floor as well. This is a guy who started a lot of games last year and he was okay. This is a guy who was a great center in college. This is a guy who has shown the ability to play in his own scheme in college. He did it constantly at Michigan. He just doesn't have great actual athleticism. That doesn't mean you can't do it. That doesn't mean you can't do that stuff. It's just you're not going to be quite as good as someone who is a better athlete. But there is some upside here. I'm not saying that Oluwatimi is definitely better than Sundell, but if he goes out there and is better than Sundell, I won't be surprised at all because of those elements at play here. So that's certainly the big one here. We also activated Christian Haynes from injured reserve. Now, I don't know if Haynes is going to serve as the backup center because he's not very good at snapping the ball. And I think that Cable Do is probably looked at as more of a center than Haynes at this point, but the option is certainly open now because Haynes, unless he's declared inactive right before the game, is going to be available. 1 second. Hey everybody, Seahawks Brendan Nelson here to show you some really cool steel art for the 50th anniversary of the Seahawks and a Mariners medallion too, like the ones pictured above my head. My dad, aka Metal Hawk, has met over 300 Seahawks, dozens of Mariners, and some Sonics in his time, and now he's making unique steel art, special edition, and it can be yours for a donation directly to Fans for Good. Click the Facebook link down below for complete instructions. Back to the video. And the Metal Hawk stuff, the metal medallions, the Mariners medallion as well. Today is the last day. The Rams game is the deadline. So if you want to get in on that, this is kind of your last call. Next time you see me make a video, unless something big happens in the next 4 hours, something really big, then by the time I make another video, the deadline will have passed. But anyway, yeah, so Christian Haynes activated. We'll see if he gets involved at some point. Seahawks also elevated Pat O'Connell from the practice squad for this game, which I think this is the first time this year that we've only used one practice squad elevation. I think every other game we've used two. O'Connell being the guy is kind of an interesting choice because obviously Ernest Jones has no game designation. Maybe there's a little bit of concern that he's not going to be able to go the whole game. Maybe there's a little bit of a concern that he's at something less than 100%. I don't know. But it is worth noting that he is active, which means there's some concern that isn't always there on game day. Other than that, so the Sundell news, obviously on some level it's a blow, but one thing that I think people should keep in mind here, and Nemhauser did a really good job outlining this in this tweet, there is going to be a 3-week period here in the next few weeks, or over the next month or so, let's call it, where Seattle is going to get a deluge of players back. So that's one thing that's really nice. We're getting a lot of these injuries, but none of them are season ending, really. We're getting all these guys back. Like Julian Love and Eric Saubert are going to return possibly week 13. That's the earliest they can return against Minnesota. Jaron Reed and Derek Young are eligible to return in week 14 against Atlanta. And then Sundell's eligible to return week 15 against Indy. Now, that doesn't mean they will return for those games, but it does kind of speak to the fact that at the very least, it's kind of like the year the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. The Seahawks, the year they won the Super Bowl, they had a lot of injuries, but almost everybody came back by the end. By the time the playoffs started, they had their whole starting offensive line, whereas during big chunks of the season, they were missing 3 starters. KJ Wright missed some time that year, and I think he missed the NFC title game, but he did ultimately play in the Super Bowl. Percy Harvin played in 2 of our 3 playoff games. He only missed the Niners game. So it was a thing where, yeah, the team was getting injured throughout the year, but it wasn't anything that actually ended anybody's season for the most part. I think the only season-ending injury we had of significance was, I want to say, Sidney Rice. There might have been 1 or 2 other guys, but Sidney Rice was the big one. So we're getting a lot of these guys back. It's going to be nice, but we got to work through a little bit more action without them. And real quick on the Rams side, not that this is anything new, but Sean McVay reiterated that he expects Davante Adams to play today. Not really news because that's what McVay has said ever since Monday, I think. But he did reiterate it, so worth noting, probably dealing with Davante today. I'm very skeptical that he's going to be the full Davante, but he'll be the partial Davante, and partial Davante is better than anybody else they can put out there. Because remember, Tutu Atwell is injured, and you got, Jordan Whittington, and I don't really know what else behind Davante. All right, I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. One thing to note real quick before I get out of here. One last thing I want to say. My post-game video will probably be a little bit late, but I will be making it. See you guys later. Go Hawks.